Scud the Disposable Assassin was made in 1997 by Syrox Developments and was released by SegaSoft for the Sega Saturn. The game is based on a comic book series which was created by Robert Sharp. The comic ran for 24 issues and spawned several spin-offs. Rob went on to work as a musician, actor, writer and director. Currently, Rob works at the TV show Rick and Morty, to which Scud the Disposable Assassin was an important inspiration.
No, it's real! Scud is real, Marty!
The game's story follows the original rather closely. Scuds are assassins which are sold in vending machines. After Scuds eliminate their primary target, they self-destruct. The main protagonist, Scud 1373, knows about this limitation and instead of killing his target, he just heavily wounds and captures it. Because of the injuries, the target is in a bad constitution and in need of permanent life support. In order to afford the outrageous hospital bills for this, Scud carries on to work as an assassin. In his job, Scud meets Drywall, who is a living cloth bag with a lot of zippers. Inside Drywall is a vast void, out of which many arms collect and store various items. The two assassins become friends and team up. Eventually, a bounty is placed on Scud himself, who then has to fight various foes. The story is told in form of heavily compressed cutscenes. The game offers 3 distinct playstyles. One is a dedicated light gun mode, which can be played by up to 2 players. If a single player plays alone, a dedicated akimbo mode is available as an option to replicate Scud's preferences in the comic original. Another mode plays as a side-scrolling shooter. The protagonist can walk, run, dash, jump, fight and shoot. After beating the game, one of 2 characters can be chosen. These control fairly different. Enemies are endlessly spawning in the side-scrolling mode. Enemies sometimes drop health or power-ups upon getting shot. The power-ups in this mode are vastly distinct fire modes, whereas the corresponding power-ups in the light gun mode are mere capacity, cadency or hitbox upgrades. A very interesting play mode mixes up the side-scrolling game with light gun elements. Player 1 controls the side-scrolling portion, while the second player shoots with the light gun onto the enemies on the screen. That way, the game is a lovely cooperative light gun crossover, similar to Starsky and Hutch or Gunbarra the Game Paradise 2, which I covered in episode 39. The game consists of 6 levels. Some of the levels look and play very differently depending on the game mode. Others are almost the same in all 3 modes and play as a first-person cursor shifter when not using a light gun. The game starts off in a mannequin factory. In the next mission, Scud infiltrates a prison in order to kill one of the detainees. On his escape, Scud meets a religious community which prays to a deceased actor. In the 4th level, Scud helps the Mafia to fight zombies and dinosaurs. Next, Scud travels into space towards a space station at which he fights a robot called AM2. The last level takes place inside Drywall, where all boss fights are repeated, AM2 minions are fought, and a nuclear catastrophe is prevented. At the beginning of each level, full health is replenished. Health and power-ups are otherwise found inside destructible objects when playing the light gun mode. One of initially 3 continues lets the player carry on right on the spot where Scud died. Upon dying, Scud loses all the power-ups, similarly as with many classic shoot-'em-up games. The power-ups are important to succeed in the game. Therefore, dying or failing to pick up power-ups feels very punishing. If all continues are consumed, the game restarts from the beginning. The game offers branching paths, which together with the 2 playable characters, the different play modes, and alternative cutscenes, gives the game some replay value. I have mixed feelings about this game. In my opinion, there is no difficulty curve and the game starts off with the full challenge. As such, the player is forced to get virtuous in the first level, after which all other levels won't be a hurdle once the patterns for the boss fights are figured out. In this regard, the game reminds me a lot of Assault City, which I reviewed in episode 2. The music is great. I like the title screen and menu scores a lot. The graphics heavily rely on pre-rendered sprites and remind me a lot of Ed Hunter, which I have reviewed in episode 54. Such games can run fluent, but Scud the Disposable Assassin runs a tad clunky and slow. This causes the pacing to feel off, as the player still has to react very fast as for the unforgiving difficulty of the game. At some points, the game struggles with hit detection and the game tends to crash in the last section. In my opinion, the game doesn't deliver the player a cohesive narrative, which alienates people who aren't familiar with the comic book. As a pure side-scroller and as a pure light gun game, Scud the Disposable Assassin is just average, and I wouldn't recommend the game to people who aren't fond of the comic book. If people are looking specifically for a cooperative multiplayer game, which mixes light gun with other gameplay styles, Scud the Disposable Assassin is still a great choice though. I like the box design a lot. The front shows Scud dual wielding guns with his signature extended pinky fingers. The image is animated, in contrary to the backside of the box, which shows drawn artwork. There, the wrong claim is made that the game was region locked to American NTSC consoles. In actual fact, however, the game is region free and apart from the frequency mismatch, it will run fine on PAL systems. This is the end of the review. My name is Ben, I thank you for viewing.